Good afternoon, Facebook. I just wanted to come to you today and tell you what I just experienced. I went over to a customer's house this morning. They said their ATV wouldn't crank. It was a 2007 Arctic Cat. Really nice four wheeler. This gentleman bought the four wheeler. He paid $3,000 for it. He got it home and he got it cranked up and it wasn't running just right, he said. So he took the carburetor off and cleaned it up. Put it back on. While he had the plastics off of it, he decided he wanted to wash it and detail it. So he took a pressure washer to his four-wheeler and he cleaned it all up and got it really nice, looking really nice. And whenever he started and he put it all back together, it would not crank. Wouldn't crank. Wouldn't do nothing. He carried it to a guy over in Huntington. Said the guy had a really nice shop at his house. And the guy charged him $1,500 to change a stator and to troubleshoot this four-wheeler. He's got $4,500 in his four-wheeler. The guy said he bought a CDI box, he bought a coil, he bought a voltage regulator, he bought all these parts just to try on his four-wheeler. You don't do that. You actually need to troubleshoot and own stuff out before you start buying parts and trying them. That's it, in a nutshell. $1,500 worth of parts. He changed the stator and the pulse coil, which is together, and got it back together, and it wouldn't do nothing. Wouldn't do nothing. This man put a new battery on it, all kinds of stuff. $1,500. All right, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. I get over there today. I took his old CDI box and put it back on. Put his old coil back on. I put my battery booster box on it, so we'd have a good hot battery. We turned it over a time or two, nothing. I checked everything in the fuse block, nothing, no change. I was just right about ready to say, okay, well, we got problems. And I was starting to ohm stuff out. I ohmed out the coil. It was good. I plugged it all in. We took the plastics and plugged the headlights in to make sure that there wasn't a broken ground in there somewhere that was causing it not to crank. I looked at the power head up in the speedometer and that cluster up in there, and it was all good. And then I grabbed my bucket and set it down and was fixing to start ohming out the stator and the pulse coil and all the voltage regulator is all right there on the right-hand side of the engine. And the minute that I sat down there on my bucket with my ohm meter, I reached to grab the plug for the stator and pulled it over, and I ohmed it, and it was good. I said, okay. And I reached over and grabbed the plug for the pulse coil, and two wires fell out of it. They just fell out of it. They never were connected inside the pin connector. They never were connected. Now, why didn't the guy that he had it out there at his place go back and double check his work? I don't know. It happens sometimes, I guess. Those pins, those wires just come out. They never were connected. I don't have a tool to go in there and push those pins out. and put them back in the weatherproof connectors. So I did the next best thing. I took and cut both ends of the plug off and took and wired it together, and then took some liquid electrical tape and put it on those connectors to waterproof them. I said, I just wonder what happens now. I turned it over, no difference. No difference. I put a shot of carb spray in the carburetor, and boom, it cranked up. This guy nearly had a heart attack. He said that's the first sound it's made in a year and a half. Two wires. Two wires. Maybe the guy was right on the stator and pulse coil change. I don't know, because I don't have the old stator to check. Those things go out all the time. But, you know, before you spend a bunch of money and you start tearing stuff apart, call me, man. Call me at 936-222-0936. Lone Star Mobile Mechanic, Groveton, Texas. Reach down there. If you got to, do a Google search. I'm on Google. I got reviews on Google. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube. I have a website. I'm not a fly-by-night operation. I'm not going to disappear tomorrow unless I go broke. And that could happen because things are slowing down. Lawnmower season's over with. I got to rely on nothing but ATVs, boats, side-by-sides, jet skis. Well, guess what? It's going to be wintertime here pretty soon. Jet skis are going to go by the wayside. Okay? Boating is going to pretty much go under for a few months because of hunting season. But then you got duck season. You got your little boats. They need to be worked on too. So all I really got right now is ATVs and side-by-sides. All right, that's all I can rely on. You guys pick up your phones and call me. Let's get these things serviced, get them ready for hunting season. If we can't get them in before hunting season, let's get them serviced during hunting season. Because regardless of if you're using them or not, they need to be serviced. They need to be serviced regular. Because your oil filter, your air filter, your differential oils, they all need to be changed. They need to be changed regular, because if you don't take care of these machines, they will let you down. They will let you down. Spark plugs, that's included in the whole thing. You know. Well, so after we get this guy's boiler crank, it won't stay running. Okay. So I check his fuel pump. We ain't getting no fuel from his fuel pump. Why are we not getting no fuel from his fuel pump? Look around. Bam. He's got a broken nipple on his intake. That broken nipple is what causes the fuel pump to pump fuel. It's a vacuum operated fuel pump. So boom, poor guy, he don't get to ride his four-wheeler this weekend. But we do have the right parts ordered now for his four-wheeler. And I'm 100% confident that whenever I go back over there, I'm going to clean his carburetor. I'm going to clean his fuel tank and put this new intake boot on it, plug it all in, and I'm 100% sure that it's going to run right. Okay? As long as he doesn't mess with the settings on the carburetor, then it should run just like it did when it was bought from the factory. Okay? That's what I do. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. My service is not cheap. If you think you're calling me out there because I'm the cheapest on the market, you got another thing coming, because I run my truck just like any other company runs their shop. My truck is my shop. The only thing I don't have is 4 walls to put around it. Okay. I don't need your tools. The only thing that's nice is if I got a cover to back in and work under to keep me out of the sun and out of the rain. That's nice, but it's not necessary. Okay. Everything I've got on my truck, and trust me, I've got a lot on my truck, is 100% necessary to run a shop. I've got special tools. I got hand tools. I got pullers. I've got air compressors. I've got air tools. I've got impacts. I got electrical supplies. I do have some parts. They're quite often used parts, but they're not used parts, but ones that I use often. Okay, electrical switches, etc., etc. And I don't mind saying this: if you've got a lawnmower that's not worth spending $200, $250 on, don't call me out there. That's not my normal cost, because it can be cheaper. But what I'm saying is if your lawnmower is on the verge and you need a new lawnmower, there's no sense in spending any more money on what you already have. But if it's worth spending money on, because I'm going to come out and give you an estimate. And if it's not worth me coming out there and spending the time and giving you an estimate for you to fix, then don't call me out there, because it just wastes my time, keeps me from going to somebody else's house. I'm just not any Tom, Dick, and Harry that's going to come out and say, well, you need this, and this. Because I don't know what it is. It may be one of 10 different things. I'm going to know within 100% accuracy of what it is. Or I'm not ordering parts. Okay? Now, with that being said, I did have a go-kart the other day that I got out there, and I'm not going to work on any more of these Hammerhead go-karts or Chinese go-karts. If it's made in China, I'm not working on it anymore. I'm sorry, but it's just the nature of the game. You can't hardly find the parts. When you find the parts, manufacturers don't want to stand behind them. God, there's so many things that I could just name off, but it's just that in a nutshell. You can't find wiring diagrams for them. I could go on and on and on and on about it. Always simple. It should be simple. It is. It is simple, but whenever you got to spend a full day out there racking your brain over about which wire goes where's it coming out of the wiring harness and stuff, when you can sit down and look at a wiring diagram and say, bam, there it is right there. It goes over here. It does this. Yeah, bam, that's it. That's it. I ain't out there to spend all day to make $100. No. I'm going to move in there and I'm going to move out because I got other things to do. So right now I'm making a video. I should be out there. I got a folder out there that I've been working on. It belongs to me. And whenever I get through with it, I'm probably going to sell it. It's just the nature of the game. But this go-kart, they had a fire on this go-kart. The guy rebuilt the engine. Another one of these guys had a shop at his house. Rebuilt the engine and did all this other stuff to it. Got it cranked up, got it running. The whole 9 yards is running. So after he gets it running, this thing catches fire and stops running. Why did it do that? This guy couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. Could not figure out what was wrong with this little go-kart. Within 3 minutes of me walking up there, I started tumbling wires over. Here's why it won't crank. Here's why, every wire on the stator, the pulse coil, the CDI box, the coil. What else is in the voltage regulator? All 5 components that control this electrical system is burned up. Everything but the key switch is burned up. Plugs are melted. The wires are melted. I mean, it's just like, oh my God. And this guy sent it back to you? Huh. Yes, and I paid him $1,500 for rebuilding this engine. Does this guy have a DBA? Does he have anything? No. All he's got is a cell phone number. And his cell phone number, he can throw that cell phone away and have a new number tomorrow, so he ain't got to answer your phone call. You could go over to his house. What good is that going to do you? You carry the small claims court. He ain't got nothing problem. So there you are. You done paid him $1,500, and he don't know how to fix what he done put together. And he just don't know how to do it. So I went over and I changed out the stator, changed out the pulse coil. That's A number 1 right there. Oh, that oil's funky. He had a bad electrical fire up in there. So I changed all that out. But you know what I found? I found that this guy literally pinched one of the wires, pardon me, to the stator coil. And whenever it vibrated enough that it broke through the insulation on the wire, and it arced out, it caught fire and it burned up that stator. It burned up his pulse coil. It burned up his voltage regulator, the coil, and I mean the whole electrical system. It burned it up. But he didn't know what was wrong with it. He wasn't man enough to stand up and say, oh my God, I got to pay for all this. That's who should have been paying for it. It was him, and directly him. It was his fault. So, I mean, call me before somebody else messes it up. I'm not too busy to make a call. You might have to book it a week. Might even have to book it 2 weeks in advance. But as long as you're booked in with me, you can count on it. The day of that call, you can count on it that I'm going to send you a text message say I'm on my way. That's the way I work. I send you a text message, and then I head out from my house headed to your house. And if I'm supposed to be there at 9 o'clock, I'm there by 9 o'clock unless something happened on the road and I had to pull over and maybe take a phone call or stop and pick up some parts or something like that. I'll be there. Not 9 o'clock, just a few minutes after 9. My GPS brings me straight into your home. That's it. And I come to your home and I start pulling stuff out, and I start working on your equipment. And whenever I get done with what I find wrong with it, I sit down and I fix you out an estimate. It's up to you whether you want to have it fixed or not. If you want to have it fixed, if the estimate's too high for you, that's your priority. Okay? If it's $250 and you don't have but $100 to fix it with, you don't want to spend that much money on it, then you tell me, I don't have that much money, I don't want to fix it. Okay? But then you owe me $115 for my diagnostic fee and my fuel. That's what I charge. I don't charge a diagnostic fee. If you tell me, yes, I want to go on with the repairs, I waive the diagnostic fee and we just go off the labor rates. Okay? And I am very fair with my labor rates. My labor rates are just the same as they are at any shop. If it's something that costs takes 2 hours to do in a shop, and they're going to charge you 2 hours of shop labor rate time, I'm talking about flat labor rate time. I'm not talking about exact hours of how long it takes to fix it, because the shop labor rate is one thing, and how long it takes to fix it is another. Shop labor rate, if it says that it takes 2 hours in the book to do the work, then that's how much you charge. You charge for 2 hours, whether it takes 4 hours or 6 hours to do. Okay, that's right. Now, if it takes me 30 minutes to do it and it bills 2 hours, I'm gonna charge you 2 hours, because you're paying for my experience. You're paying for my because there's been times that I went out and worked on jobs and it take me 2 hours to do them, and it should have the book flag times 2 hours, and it takes 6 hours to do it because there was something that you didn't know. There was a shortcut you didn't know. There was a procedure that you didn't know about, and if you don't do this, it takes longer to do it. But if you do this other step, then it takes less time to do it. That's where that all comes in. Yeah. So it's like changing a tire. If you change a tire and it takes you 5 minutes to change it, man, you're good at it. You're good at it. You're well practiced at it. Very experienced at it. But it may take somebody else 35, 40 minutes to do it. That's the difference. Okay? By the way, changing tires pays a half hour. So if you do it in 5 minutes, you make your money. If you do it in 45 minutes, you lose the money. Okay? That's the way shop labor works. All right? I got miscellaneous shop supplies. They're expensive. Okay? All that stuff's expensive. If you want to see it itemized on your statement, it's itemized on your statement. If you don't want to see it itemized on your statement, go somewhere else, because I itemize that stuff. I want to show you why it costs so much. Okay? And yes, I use paper towels, I use carb spray, I use WD-40, I use PB Blaster. Stuff goes up, it's high. I have to pay for it. Okay? So I have to pass the cost down to you. I have gasoline in my truck that I know is fresh and clean every day. So if I do your carburetor, bam, there goes your gasoline. That's $5 right there for a gallon. Some units won't even touch the intake tube with a gallon of gas in it. So think about it. It's all right there. A bottle of fuel system cleaner, $7. Okay. Anyway, guys, so, you can pay someone else a lot of money and then come pay me more money to fix it, or you can just call me and pay me the first time. All right? Call me, 936-222-0936. 936-222-0936. I'll bring my shop